Wait for it. Developers, how goes it? It's Real Tough Candy from realtoughcandy.com, back online with you today, talking about these wackadoodle interviews. How have you been? It's been a week since we had a live. It seems like a lot longer than that, though. A lot's been going on. Hope you're doing well on this wonderful Friday. We're going to do a roll call, see who all is showing up. And I definitely want to hear some stories in the comments today. We usually have a pretty feisty group in the live chat. And if you have been a victim of a terrible interview, I want to hear about it. So let's make sure you can hear me. Let's make sure you can see me. If you can see me and hear me, please blink twice. Let me go check out my stats here and get in the game so I'm not embarrassing myself. So let's see. Let me click on this. This is always awkward. This is never streamlined. 3 likes already. Hey, welcome everyone. So apparently you guys can click on this. Zen Masters. What up, my dudes? What's up, Zen Masters? Paradoodly says, hey, Candy, we hear you loud and clear. Great. Michelle Williams, how's it going? Welcome everyone else. We have 20 people here right now, or just about. We're going to talk about it today. These wackadoodle interviews. Joey Gray blinked twice. Thanks, Joey. Rebecca, blink, blink. How's it going? I don't know if you can see this because it is green, and this is the Fish Fry Friday where we have abundant green screens. Cracking the Coding interview. We're going to be talking about this book. I did a video on this book some time ago. I don't know, probably like 6 months ago or something. Great book. But we're going to talk about it in the context of these wackadoodle interviews, what people are having you go through just to sit at the table so they can see if you're a good fit for the company. Dana and Jax, what's up? TG to the I to the F. Dana, so glad you're here. I have to give a shout out to Dana because she is our newest channel member. As you can see, she has an awesome piece of candy next to her name and green font, and she's rocking it. She's got a little bit of custom emojis working in her favor as well. So shout out to you and all my other channel members. I gotta say it, guys. My patrons, my channel members make these videos happen. So thank you so much. And people like Chiquito who donate through other means. So thank you. Chiquito, I haven't seen you around. I know he was having computer problems, but I hope you're doing all right. I miss you. I miss you in the chat. So if you're seeing this, you should make yourself known. What's up, Rikers Island, Code Zero? And everyone else, thanks for joining. So today's topic is junior developers are tired of these wackadoodle interviews. And this was inspired by a absolutely random post I got or comment I got on my Instagram the other week. I don't use Instagram all that much, but I post here and there, interesting photos and like self-absorbed selfies and stuff. So I posted this pic. I'm going to show you this. I'll share my screen in just a second. But basically, this person is tired. This person is very tired of these types of interviews where it's 5-6 rounds for a freaking entry-level job. Or they are asked questions from something like this. Now, if you haven't seen the video where I discussed this book, again, this was like 6 months ago I did this video. Paradoodly-doo, maybe you can find it if you want to add some context to what I'm about to say about this book. It's a really good book for what it promises. 189 programming questions and solutions. Like, this book is encyclopedic in nature, very well written, and it's helped a lot of people land a job at a FANG level company. Written in Java, so limited use there if you're a web developer and don't know Java, but just a really great book. The problem is, and Sarah, I hope you're here today, Sarah, because I remember you telling me this story. You told the story in the chat. The problem is people treat this like a de facto Bible of programming interviews. Oh, you don't know what to ask? Here, grab a question from this book. Like, really? There's so much wrong with that. And the past couple months, I've seen more and more channels talk about how they never want to work for a FANG, how, the interview process is broken. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The company culture is broken if you really endorse these types of interviews. And what happens is So Silicon Valley has their own culture, right? And listen, let me get something straight. Silicon Valley has provided me a source of income. Like that's one of my sources. People have been writing checks to me for a few years from Silicon Valley for my work I do in my business. I'm not hating, but I am saying this idea of 5 and 6 rounds of interviews comes from these highly competitive companies like Google and Facebook, where they can do these types of interviews because people want to work there. It's a high demand place. These places are fangs, are the top tier, they're 1%ers. Everyone wants to work there. And so they can do these interviews where it's like, okay, I use this example and every time I'm talking about FANG interviews, rotate a 2D matrix 90 degrees counterclockwise. Well, if you studied something like this, you'd be able to do it no problem because you're not really problem solving when they ask you those questions. But that's a rant. That's a rant. And so what happens is, so these types of interviews, people find out about how they work, and then these smaller employers say, okay, so this is how you find a great candidate. So we're going to start asking questions from this book or similar type questions. We're going to start interviewing candidates 5 times. Like, why are you doing that? Because that's what Silicon Valley's doing, and they have the best candidates in the world. Developers, Sarah, if you're here in the chat, she told me this story. It was a temp agency, and the temp, I don't remember if it was the temp worker or someone working on behalf of the temp agency. I don't know. They were somehow related to this temp agency. And what did they have on their desk? But this book. Just so they could go in to anyone applying for this IT role or whatever and say, okay, question 11. Let's see. No. Let's go to chapter 10, sorting and sorting. Can you do a bubble sort with a merge sort, but write it in Rust? Let me go to question. Maybe I'll go to 6, math and logic puzzles. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But this has been ingrained. And again, this is a great book. But this has been ingrained in people who aren't developers, who aren't engineers, that this is the Bible, this is the go-to, this is the standard. And it's just not. It's just not. There's not going to be that demand or talent pool when you're in BFE trying to interview for a front-end web developer or back-end web developer or whatever. It's not the same as a Google engineer. But again, people get their ideas from weird places. Now, let me go to the comments here and make sure everything's under control. We have some mods today. Paradoodly-doo is our mod at large. Benjin1, thanks for your upgrade. He is a new, or sorry, I gender assumed there, but Benjin1 is our newest YouTube channel member. Thank you for the Java Suite tier, Benjin1. I appreciate that. Welcome everyone who's just joining us. Marco, Ian Bayless, what's up? Ian says, hey, Candy, I hope all is well. It is. Thanks. It is well. Code Zero says a lot of horrible interviews, especially from interviews set up by staffing agencies. Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's up, Candace? Dr. Candace is here. Carl Young, what's up? King, Zen Masters. King says employers don't know how to hire developers. The process is broken and HR doesn't know how to make a good job description of the role. Bingo. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share here. Let me screen share my Instagram and we're going to share this personal account from this developer who has absolutely had it with these wackadoodle interviews. All right. So just give me a sec here. Let me do a share screen. I'm on Zoom. This is always awkward. Here we go. Okay. Share. Can you guys see that? So this was me on my Instagram account. If you want to follow me, it's realtoughcandy_official. I'm posting more and more regularly. Hey, by the way, check this out. Oh yeah, summer's here at RTC headquarters. All right, these are my shoes. These are one of my pairs of shoes. Let's see. Okay, it's on this one. So, and mind you, this was a person who was so frustrated. They randomly just said, you know what, I'm gonna let it all loose. So RebCare, this is a post about Tiny YouTube, my book I wrote about how to start a YouTube channel. So this person said, can we please talk about interviewing? Oops, my bad. Oh, come on. Did that really do that to me? Can we please talk about interviewing and the 10 million hoops they want you to jump through? I want to know where to draw the line of how much effort we should put into an opportunity. I have an interview that escalated me to the second of 4 phases of application. This level is a 3-hour long test. Next is a 2-hour long code interview, then a group interview where I'm interviewed by 6 people. Is this normal? Because it seems ridiculous. Emphasis theirs. I have a full-time job and working 50 hours a week on these damn hoops just to lose out at the very last phase to someone else. If I could weed out the crap, I could focus on the good jobs. This type of experience is not uncommon. We are seeing now, it's not like millions of companies are doing this type of thing. This is from people I've talked with and from employers I've been with, from employers I have in my network and my own personal experience. This type of interview is becoming more and more common, but it definitely is not yet the majority. Because most small businesses, if you're working for like a digital agency or your company is under 20 or 30 people, you just don't have the personnel to do a 5 freaking round interview. Now, having like 5 people at one interview, that's more common than 5 rounds or even like 3 rounds of 2 hours each. Yeah, we're going to do a coding interview, we're going to do a code test, we're going to do all this. Most small businesses just don't have the manpower or the inclination to put people through those hoops. Where I'm seeing the increase in those types of interviews, where it's 4 phases and it's a 3-hour long test, are startups and companies with a lot of hype around them. And if you want to avoid, if you're generally trying to, so here's what I can say. Number one, if you are worried about a overwrought interview process, ask the person on the phone or through the email, like, hey, RTC, we love your application materials. We think you'd be a good fit. We'd like to interview you. When are you available? Before anything, I want to know what I can expect. Because if this job is in BFE, Iowa, and it's a small company, I'm not going to interview with you 5 times. I'm not going to interview with you 3 times, especially if I was a junior. And what happens is the job market, we talked about this in another live stream about the job market being flooded with junior developers and why that's happening and why it will continue to happen. So the thing is, a lot of people are like, well, this is my chance. I got this call back. They actually want to interview me. And so you get excited. It's like, yeah, I want this job. If I have to go in 4 times, okay. But seriously, like by the second interview, it's like, what do they think? Why'd I have to go in? Why'd I have to go in 2 more times after this? Don't they have a pretty good idea of where I am as a candidate? A lot of these types of interviews just do not warrant 3 and 4 interviews, let alone 2 of them. So let's go back to these comments. I know there are going to be some good ones. What's up, Joseph Whittington? How's it going? Joseph says, interviews are ridiculous. I had 2 group interviews with 5 people just grilling me left and right with math questions and art questions. Seriously. LMS News. What's she talking about? I'm talking about interviews, dude. Where have you been? Sarah says, I once interviewed for a job at a college to work in the copy room. I had 6 people interviewing me. It was ridiculous. Milla Morris. Hey, Milla, what's going on? Good to see you. Sipo Charles, what's up? Too many plonkers are doing this, and it's ridiculous. I lost out after, whoops, the comments are moving too fast. Oh, dang it. You deleted the comment. Well, I got halfway there. What's up, Agent 091? And everyone, Red Rojas, what's up? Hey, Queen, love your earrings. Thanks. I love my earrings. I need to get back to the garage sales circuit. That's where I find some really good ones. Anyways, I'm still on screen share, huh? Or am I not? Whoops. I'm still on screen share. My bad. So let me take this off screen share. We can talk a little more about this. A lot of it starts with this book. Why? Why, companies? Why? Why are you doing this, especially to juniors? You don't need to interview them 5 times. That is a process reserved for Silicon Valley and And that's it, really, for FANGs. That's a process reserved for FANGs. I'm going to take a little sip break. I'm taking a little sippy sip. This is my new acquisition. It's like a LaCroix ripoff. It's actually pretty good. Aha, sparkling water, peach and honey. Share your interview experiences, your terrible, overwrought experiences in the chat. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my interview experience when I was looking for an enterprise job, a 9-to-5 job. I'm going to open the door here. I'm just getting verklempt. It's a lot to talk about. Got to get some of that delicious AC in here. So, man, the pace has been really fast with this live stream. Just gets me worked up because so many great candidates. And I don't know, I don't even know where that one person who commented on my Instagram, I don't know where they were applying, who they were interviewing with. I don't even know if they're a web developer or what type, I don't know what type of software they're doing, software development they're doing. It's just frustrating to see that so many companies think like, well, better ask them some trivia, better really grill them. And the sad part is that some people they enjoy terrorizing job candidates, and not everyone is cut out to interview a job candidate. But because of personnel, because of company culture, because of whatever factor, they are in that interview room, or they're the ones asking the questions where it's like, dude, really take a mass communication course, take an interpersonal communication course, and come back. So yeah, let me see what these comments are all about. Joseph says, got my first graphics programming job, by the way. Feels good, man. Good job. Awesome. Great job, Joseph. That's great to hear. That's awesome. Are you working right now, or when do you start? Alexander Brunner says, we need to stop this leak code hacker rank BS. But at the same time, I've had interviews that required me to write them a whole React project that took me 3 days to build. What's the alternative, though? Well, for one, context matters. And that's something that I can't speak for other countries, but at least in America, context, unfortunately, has been taking less and less of a prominent role in everything we do. Whether we're talking about canceling things or, I don't want to get, this is not a political channel, but to give this topic some context, some of these sites and some of these applications and some of these things that we're doing as a society don't promote context. And so when you lose context, what do you have? Just that moment. Okay, can this person rotate a 2D matrix 90 degrees? Yes or no? And so when you lose context, things become more binary. Can this person build a React app in 3 days? And also we're shifting. I see this, okay? Now you will not find this in any peer review journal, but this is what I'm seeing. More focus on quantitative data rather than qualitative data. Quantitative data refers to numbers, and figures. Qualitative data refers to qualities. So instead of asking someone, do you have a portfolio? It should be, that's an example of a binary. Yes, this person has 5 items in their portfolio. That's an example of a quantitative data point. Qualitative is, an example of qualitative data would be, what actually was their process in building these projects? What are these projects? What problems do these projects solve? And you can see right away how much more significant and more illustrative the qualitative data is, but people are asking quantitative questions. And on top of that, reducing the importance of context. And so again, because of that, we are seeing things like, can you do XYZ in under 3 minutes? It turns into something trivial rather than something illustrative of that candidate. Okay, you can build a React application, but what problem did you solve? That's what I want to know as an employer, because at the end of the day, I want you to solve my problems. I don't have time to build a React application. I run a business now. Could I do it? Yes. Do I have other things to do though? It's a huge opportunity cost. I don't care how many projects you have in your portfolio. It should be more than 1 ideally, but whether you have 3 or whether you have 15, I want to see in your portfolio, did you solve a real problem? How did you do it? Explain your process. I want to see the quality of these things. And we've really lost that focus. And that's why we see crap like this everywhere. Again, excellent book, but we're just really losing something in that process. And as an effect, candidates are frustrated because we have a lot of good candidates who are missing out on job opportunities because we have a more of an emphasis on quantity and metrics. / and rant for now, ... kind of. So I think the alternative is to just be more inclusive of qualitative data points, not just quantitative, not just metrics. How many years have you been coding? Like that to me, it's not a high value question, because I've seen developers who've been working for 10 years who are still in the infancy of their career. They still haven't solved like big problems. If you've been doing it for 6 months and solved a big problem, I want to talk to you. If you've been doing it for 10 years and haven't shown any progression, I probably don't want to talk to you as an employer. So that data point does illustrate some things, but not as much as if I'm asking you to explain your problem-solving process or how you built a project or what value you added to your last company. What were the big things you did for your last company and why that was important? What was the impact? Those are the type of questions I'm asking. Not this. Let's go to the comments. What's up, Candace? Dr. Candace, now mind you, Candace is a total VIP. And she has a PhD. I always forget what it is. It's related to computer science. It might even be computer science, but she is just killing it right now. Let's see what Candace is saying. I was interviewed by 4 people for a machine learning / researcher role, mostly asked about my projects, some machine learning problems, heavy on quantitative data and how machine learning can be the future in healthcare. Interesting. What did you think of that interview, Candace? What was your takeaway? What was the vibe? I'm interested. Tell us more. And when you ended the interview, did you, yeah. Just, I always throw a lot of questions at people when they're like busily typing and I don't want to, I'll save more questions. I'll let you answer. Let's see. Paradoodly do. George Meehan Dev. What's up, George? Hey, RTC, Paradoodly do, Sarah, and everyone. Really, the weirdest question I had in an interview was where the interviewer asked me, where does the county get their money from? That was a developer interview? Holy crap. Sarah says, the interview I had at the college, one of the guys asking me questions was a maintenance guy. They all had the same questions written on paper and would just read the next one down. Yeah. It's insane. Manuel says it would make only sense if candidate is being interviewed more than 3 times because he might be considered for multiple positions and or projects. Other than that, it is a waste of time and resources. So here's my interview experience. So when I was seeking employment in a 9-to-5 type environment, I applied to probably 60, maybe 70 jobs. I had a few interviews. I had some phone screens. I had some in-persons. And one of my in-persons, the job I ultimately ended up taking, it was one interview and it was 3 people. There was a senior developer, the company owner, and a proprietary language programmer because this was an IBM affiliate. So he dabbled in IBM type languages and technologies. I don't know why that was triggering for me, like IBM technologies. But anyway, so there was 3 of them. And I mean, honestly, it was a pretty good interview. We had a dialogue. I was asking about as many questions as they were. And thinking back, I probably even asked more questions than they did. The company owner was a software developer, but an old school one who got started in the 80s, and he did not know a lick about web development. So I don't think he asked me any questions at all. I think he was just there to observe. The senior developer asked me most of the questions, and then the proprietary language guy maybe asked 1 or 2 general questions. But they showed me, so here's how it worked. I showed them my portfolio, and then they got out the projector screen and showed me some of the things that they were working on. And I was able to ask them questions. I wasn't encouraged to ask questions. I wasn't like, okay, RTC, you can ask questions. Now, I had questions about this, that, and that. You got to remember that even though you are a junior, even though you are in the hot seat, and I know how they're always uncomfortable. Interviews are always uncomfortable. It's a new environment. Strangers are grilling you, and there's just so much going on. There's like so much going on. I was asking them questions because I know that interviews are a two-way street, and you have got to interview that company as well. If you're going to that job, if you're going to that interview, 3 interviews at this company, you should be asking questions too. Now, if it's a coding interview, that's a little different because the only questions you're going to be asking are clarifying questions to help you solve the problem. But if they're sitting you down just as a general interview, general chat, general get to know you, let's see, this person might be a good fit. In general, start asking a lot of questions, because if they're going to be putting you through the ringer as a junior, calling you in so many times and having you doing 3 and 4 different projects, you got to ask yourself, okay, is this going to be like the daily thing? Is this going to, because that's dysfunctional. If you're outside of Silicon Valley and you're being interviewed multiple times, having to do multiple projects or multiple coding interview even is kind of pushing it. This style of coding interview is really pushing it. You got to ask yourself, what's the company culture really like? So if you are getting these, and I'm not saying like all employers who ask these questions, a lot of them are just oblivious. And, HR, as someone mentioned in the comments, this has been mentioned many times, but HR is so detached from what we do as software developers. You have got to take the initiative and ask yourself, okay, is this a glitch? Is this just because the company is a little unstructured, or is it really unraveling? Try and meet some people from the department you'll be working in. Ask that person interviewing you after the interview, could I meet some of the team members? Is there someone I could talk to about, how you guys do things? Do as much research as you can, because the last thing you want is to pass these interviews, jump through all these hoops, and then get stuck at a job that sucks. Like, really? You worked 50, 100 hours just on this interview, just getting prepped, just doing their projects, just studying, cracking the coding interview, and you get to that job and it's an absolute disaster, clown show. That's not something you want for your career, even as a junior. It's not worth it. It's just not. Let's go to the comments. Dollar Slice says, one thing I can say is never tell your employer you have a physical disability. You will never hear back. Josh Knows Software says, it just pissed me off when they brought me in for an interview for a data scientist and seen most of my projects and started asking me about React and JavaScript. Like, dude. Because you had mentioned Python, right? Were you working with or is that someone else up here? Let's see. Well, yeah, it's kind of in the comment itself. Data scientists asking about React. They're clueless about that actual job role. Troy Mitchell said, had a couple of phone interviews today, kind of unexpectedly. .NET jobs 90K. They went well. Be totally transparent. They can tell if you're blowing smoke. Great comment. Okay, Candace is dropping back in. Yes. So Candace, just to get people, if you're just joining us, Candace up here said, I was interviewed by 4 people for a machine learning / researcher role, mostly asked about my projects, some machine learning problems, heavy on quantitative data and how machine learning can be the future in healthcare. And so her follow-up, because I asked her what she thought about it, she said, I got a great vibe from them and enjoyed it. I was expecting algorithms and data structure problems, but they were mainly focused on complex problems since the role required a PhD. Wasn't stressed out and asked a lot of questions about the company, the product, day-to-day routine, and do they allow researchers a day to where they just conduct research related to projects. Spent about 30 minutes over the interview asking questions, which they were all real nice and loved all the questions. I ended up getting the job. Awesome. Yes. Yes. And it goes to show, some people say, oh, don't trust your gut. First impressions, give them another chance. If you're feeling good about something when it comes to interviewing and comes to these companies, you may be on the right track. If you have like really bad vibes, I'm not going to say pack up everything, but more often than not, it can be a real indication of what's going on. Another problem that we have with some of these companies, now this one is real interesting. And I've seen other channels talk about this, but it's worth mentioning again and again because it's not going away. This is like borderline as like scandalous, almost like conspiratorial territory, but it's not a conspiracy because it's like really obvious what's going on. Companies that say, hey, we liked your application materials. We want you to apply some of your knowledge and build us a COVID Aunt Rona tracker, or build us something that will make us money. Whoops, we didn't say that. What they're having some of these candidates do, they'll farm out their projects to job candidates. And so for everyone who applies, what they'll do, they'll have them complete a feature, or they'll just have them recreate the entire application, and then they'll pick the best one. Or they'll take parts and at least get a start with their application. So they're getting free labor. It can't be legal. There's no way this is legal. And it still happens because it's like, okay, you think I'm scamming people? Prove it. Click. They'll farm out these projects to job candidates until they get free labor. Like, oh, you want me to build this application? Well, I want the job. Always research that company. I mean, I personally don't know anyone who this has happened to, but I know there's people out there who are feeling suspicious about coding challenges they have completed. Now, I'm actually a fan of take-home coding tests because it illustrates, it doesn't put you in the hot seat as a candidate, and it also lets you consult various resources, much like you would do if you're actually working at the job. Now, when I'm working on coding projects, this is when I'm doing freelancing, when I was doing a lot of freelancing before I entered enterprise, and when I was enterprise. Even to this day, when I'm working, I don't have boundaries on where I get my help because my ultimate goal again is to solve my problem. Not be like, oh, I use Stack Over. Oh my gosh, I talked to a mentor. Oh no. Like, you can do that on the job. What doesn't matter in most scenarios, whether you're using Stack Overflow, you're watching a YouTube video, or for some quick reading the documentation, DMing your mentor, who cares? As long as you can solve the problem and implement an optimal solution. Doesn't matter. But when you're in the hot seat and they're like, okay, you have 20 minutes to build this feature, so much more can go wrong. And so a take-home test gives you that the relaxation factor, and also gives you the chance to reach out to people and resources that you would just be using in a real world scenario on the job. When I was in enterprise too, like I would go on my lunch break and go into I had not a Slack, what was the Gitter? I had a Gitter chat room before we upgraded to Discord, which, by the way, Paradoodly or Sarah, can you drop the Discord link? Very active, robust Discord. I love my Discord. People there are so cool. Hello, Discord peeps. But I would go there on my lunch and talk with people and DM people, maybe get their advice, because my company was very small and my senior developer was putting out a lot of fires. There is a lot going wrong with that company. That company was very dysfunctional. And I didn't want to bug him. He was really nice. And I think he got stuck there because he was nice and he was a pushover. He could do so much better. You usually talk about that kind of stuff in like interpersonal relationships, like, oh, he could do so much better. Like, I'm talking about him at the job. He could do so much better. But I think he just had like low self-esteem. It sucked because he was really nice, very talented. But yeah, I would go to him when I could, but I also knew he had a lot of fires to put out. So I would go to Stack Overflow. I'd go to, whatever resource, my mentors, my freaking just peers when I had questions, because real world coding situations are a lot different than what you learn in a Udemy course or these other courses. So I was like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. It was a cultural shock for sure. Like the coding cultural shock for me was very real. Let's go to these comments and see what's going on. George Meehan Dev, exactly. So listen to this. The Democratic Party near me, after the interview, sent me an at-home project. They wanted me to build an app that connects to a demographic API so they could get data from specific areas. That's a perfect example. A perfect example of an organization wanting work for free. There is no way that they're going to see your code and say, oh, does this work? They're going to get some ideas from it. They're going to use it. Sometimes they might even have a disclaimer like, okay, the code you submit belongs to us. Like, how is that legal? Especially in the States. I just don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion there are a lot more stories like that. And I'm trying to think back too, like, did I ever do a coding challenge? One thing I did see that I did like, there is a coding challenge. It's called the Inshubai or Insubai challenge. It's on GitHub. And what people will do, they'll add some tweaks to it and stuff so that it's an open source project and it's a problem that's been solved. But they also, some employers also make not just that project, but projects like it. They'll add their own tweaks to it. Or they'll say, hey, instead of returning 10 widgets, return 100 widgets or something. So they'll change up the numbers just a little bit with these themes, these variations on a theme, so that you can't Google the exact solution, which is, a complete opposite to problems like these, where people are just reading them from the book. Like, okay, like, let's see. Can't you just say it? I can just see like a temp agency person going through here, just like licking their finger. Okay, I'll have you, why don't you imagine a robot sitting on the upper left corner of a grid with R rows and C columns. The robot can only move in two directions, right and down, but certain cells are off limits such that the robot cannot step on them. Design an algorithm to find a path for the robot from the top left to the bottom right. I'll wait. Like, seriously? Especially asking a junior developer that's absolutely ridiculous. I would never ask anyone coming to work for my company that question, ever. No, it doesn't say anything about you as a candidate other than the fact that you're able to read. I don't know, developers. I mean, it's really something else. Let's see. Developers, we have 87 viewers right now, 40 likes. If you would, do me a favor, hit the like button so we can continue to make these videos. Let's spread the word that software development is the career to get into 2020. Get into in 2020, and not to get off too much topic here, but I'm still seeing developers getting hired. There are some sectors of this economy that were absolutely untouched during the Rona and all this other stuff. In fact, I was telling this, I did a consult the other day, telling this person, we were talking about remote work and how two junior developers in my network in the past few months have landed remote jobs. Last year, you go to ask me, I said, don't even think about it. Companies aren't hiring juniors remotely because the trust factor just isn't there. You don't have a track record of like, oh, you worked for X company for 3 years remotely and 5 years total. You're good to go. That trust factor is right there in your resume. For juniors, that trust factor that's where you build it. That's one of the responsibilities of being a junior. You haven't proven yourself. Well, anti-Rona kind of changed that. And now companies are taking more chances on juniors, especially when it comes to remote working. So that's a definite plus, because I know there are a lot of people out there who are like, I cannot move. I'm taking care of family, or there's some issue. So there's something going on. Maybe you love where you live. You just don't want to move. It's a good cost of living or whatever, or low cost of living. I totally get it. That's just something, a benefit, a positive that's come out of all this nonsense. And well, it's not nonsense, but you know what I mean. There are some great things happening right now in this industry, despite everything going on. This is even though this is kind of a morose, maybe even depressing topic to talk about, because some people's experiences with interviewing as juniors has been absolute dog crap. Like, it's been really bad for some people. Going into these interviews, having the person not know anything about the job position, dealing with HR, not knowing anything about software development or engineering, it can be really dejecting. You can feel just like, does anyone really know what's going on? But there are more and more opportunities popping up, and it's a great time it's a great time. It's always a great time to get into tech. And at the end of the day, problem solvers get paid, point blank, period. So that's the most important thing, and that's what we do as developers. We solve problems. It's not that we can implement a function, it's that we can solve a problem implementing a function. That's always the big focus. So, developers, let's go to these comments again. I know you guys are lighting up the chat. Science says, Candy, your mic is getting in the shot. I know, it's the green screen. What can I do? Just close your eyes and listen. Close your eyes and listen and come with me to a faraway place we call Middle Earth, where junior developers are not harassed. There's ample employment opportunities, and they work and work and work. On a related note, we're working very hard on realtoughcandy.io. That is our new learning platform where we help you level up, land a job, get a raise. We do not teach you JavaScript because there's 1,000 places where you can do that. We bridge the gap between your technical skills and landing a job, getting a raise. And in some cases, getting a raise actually means leaving your company for another company. And then in fact, in tech, that's where we see the biggest raises happening, actually leaving your company. Because there's a few ways you can get raises. One, ask for it. Two, have your boss be nice and give you it, which is kind of rare. It does happen. But number three, leave your company, go someplace else and get, a $40,000 raise, as it were. But it's kind of a really technical, nerdy point, but realtoughcandy.io is coming along very swimmingly. If that's even a grammatically correct phrase. I am so excited. We are dropping 5 courses. It's going to be dropping. I don't have a date set in stone, but it is coming soon. 5 courses. If we're going to have monthly memberships as well as yearly memberships, and either of those memberships are going to get you some bonus materials and bonus things, some awesome extras. We have a royalty-free library of video, high def photos, and sound effects, music, and dialogue. Some of these video clips, if you're not using Pexel Videos, which is a free site, you've seen it. You've seen these videos millions of times. These are exclusive to the platform, and you can use them in your projects. They're royalty free. The only thing you can't do is resell them on their own. But as members of realtoughcandy.io, that is a huge benefit. We're also doing exclusive mini courses for yearly members. We're doing crash courses and webinars. We're going to be doing interviews with people in the industry. It's going to be so lit, and I'm so excited. If you're a patron, if you're a patron or channel member, I'm going to be contacting you. I know I've been saying this since June, but I will be contacting you with some goodies and some special access or discounts. So thank you for your support. We are so excited for this platform. We're going to be talking about it more and more, and it's just going to be. I'm so hyped for it. Thank you guys for your support. It looks like we have a super chat. Holy crap! Rikers Island. Where's my megaphone? $199.99 super chat. Rikers, you are it. You are it. Thank you so much for that super chat. Holy crap. I really appreciate that. If you have a question or anything, or leave a comment, I will definitely make it a priority. You, the VIP super chat here, making it rain today on the live stream. Edward S says, I enjoy your streams. You keep it honest and real. Thanks, Edward. The thing is, I don't want to blow smoke up people's bums. Like, I am an advocate for junior developers. I know how hard it is. I have 100%. I don't have a degree in computer science. I had to start from ground zero. Like, what is HTML? And I never want to forget. I hope I never forget how tough it was. How many times I wanted to quit. And I never want to bring information that is overhyped, or just, I never want to talk about things. I never want to make it an easy sell. Like, this is a tough industry, but it's definitely doable. And so my role is to help people make that next step, take that next step, get in a job that they love and love what they do, enjoy their life. Because with this career, again, there's a lot of good things going on right now. But one of the good things is that we get paid really decently, especially after your first year and you've proven yourself that you can solve problems. The sky's the limit. Whether you're doing enterprise, 9 to 5, contract work, it doesn't matter. There's so many opportunities. And the flavors of what you can do with these skills. You could start your own business. You can freelance. You don't have to, if you never want to think about making a business decision, you could do a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life and retire with $1 million in the bank or more. Sky's the limit. And that's really, I mean, one of the big messages of this channel. So I appreciate you leaving that comment. I just love what I do on YouTube. Where's the siren, says Saul. I know, I'm like looking for it. I have no idea where I put it, honestly. Let's see. We had another comment here I wanted to read. Carson Black says, learn how to use a debugger, folks. I was just part of a hiring committee, and the only answer to the question we had about how you go about figuring out coding problems was Stack Overflow and Google. Interesting. Candace says, can't stand companies that would give you brain teaser problems during the interview. Exactly. I mean, why? Why would you do that? As a company, I mean, we've talked about it in the live stream, why people would do that, but it's just like, listen, there are so many other things you can do to assess a candidate. Like, stop wasting our time with this. Paradoodly Dude dropping the $5 super chat. Pretend it's $99.99, looks around shiftily. Paradoodly Dude, I love your work, but you would look around shiftily with that. Paradoodly, thank you so much for your support. Paradoodly's on the constant looking around shiftily. I love what she does, but I don't trust her. I'm just kidding. I totally trust her. She's a great mod. She's over on our Discord too, keeping things civilized and just welcoming for everyone. So I'm just messing with Paradoodly. Let's see. Lots of comments today, developers. Thank you again, Rikers, Ben Gen 1 for your new membership, and Paradoodly for that super chat. Carson Black added about the debugger thing. So let me read the comment really quick just to refresh people. Learn how to use a debugger. I was just part of a hiring committee, and the only answer to the question we had about how do you go about figuring out things was Stack Overflow and Google. And Carson said this was not for a junior level position. Interesting. Interesting. Let's see. I'm not used to just being quiet for a minute. This is an interesting change of pace here. I'm just reading through the comments here. Guys, thanks for all the great comments today. Just blowing it up. Manuel has a good question. In your opinion, what types of industries keep hiring junior developers on these times? Honestly, I haven't seen. Now, this is just my observation. Maybe someone else can add some insight here, but I haven't seen an industry in particular just like totally kill it. Just in general, I mean, this is a hot career field, and it's been hot for the past X amount of years. I mean, since the web started making money, people always need a software person. Now, I don't know. So think about some of the industries that picked up during the Rona. Anything where you're ordering online, any type of like grocery delivery, Amazon. Now, I don't know. This is a thing though. I know Amazon was doing a hiring surge with their general employees, like, the pick and pack people. Like the pick and pack people who are doing order fulfillment. There are a few people in our Discord who ended up doing, or one or two people who ended up doing those jobs. But as far as like actually hiring software developers, and I don't really think they mess with juniors, to be honest, um, because they are in the FANG tier. They unless you're like a 1%er or something, child genius, they usually will just bypass someone without any experience. So that's probably a bad example. But generally speaking, the last couple of months, we've seen huge upticks in grocery delivery, any type of delivery service, any type of contactless service. Uh, so I would assume that there may be a few more people getting entrepreneurial and saying, you know what, I need the software developer to make me this delivery service or something that involves contactless commerce. Do I know if that's true or not? No, this is just my guess. Because honestly, like just like reading and talking with people, I haven't seen one industry just completely just like, woo, take off for juniors. I think just around the board. The two people that I know who have gotten remote positions were just, general enterprise level companies. Nothing special if we're thinking about the Rona and all this stuff and like the downtick is just like your regular Joe Blow companies hiring these people as they usually would under normal circumstances. And I haven't seen a lot of like software developer layoffs. There have been a few companies, which there are a lot of companies. Some companies, I need to be careful with my wording here. There are some companies that have shut down during the Rona that they're just not going to be opening back up. Is GameStop back open? Because my initial thought when they said we are going to shut down is that, yeah, they're not going to be opening up again. They probably don't have a huge dev team, but I mean, if I was a developer there, I would be looking for another job right about now. Candace with a $10 super emoji dinosaur in a rocket ship. Candace, thank you. And Rikers with the follow-up $19.99 super chat. Thanks for the live stream once again. Got a dash early work calls. Thanks again for the inspiration you provide. Rikers, thank you so much. Big time supporter of the channel. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all this. Candace, I love this guy. Does he have one eye like separated into two? Alien rhinoceros on a rocket chair. I love it. Coder B says, my buddy at Microsoft has not been busy, but he was working on software for hospitals and not related to the Rona. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point and something to think about too. If there is an industry growing in general, they're going to need software developers. As far as your question about junior developers, the sad reality is that everyone wants someone, say it with me now. It's almost like a church song at this point. Just like, all right, clap along with me now. The companies don't want to hire juniors in general. Why? Not because you're a bad candidate, because they want someone with 20 years experience, 15 of them with React, fluent in 7 programming languages, who also makes a mean cup of coffee. Employers are greedy, developers, okay? They're greedy. They want it all. They want the world. And what do you bring to the table as a junior? Not as much as a senior. And that's not to downvote or diminish your abilities, because there are some really talented juniors out there and all they need is someone to take a chance on them. And for as much as I talk about how dysfunctional my time in enterprise was, I mean, developers, I wrote a book about it. Real Tough Software. It's all about the company dysfunction. It's on Amazon. It's a #1 bestseller and promo. As much as I talk about it, you know what? The one thing that I can always be grateful for, they took a chance on me. They took a chance on me. That's something that most companies just aren't willing to do. And that's where the struggle is, because going back to the topic of these wackadoodle interviews, what happens when you do jump through those hoops? You want to say, oh, yeah, okay, so the company's dysfunctional, but I passed all these interviews. Yeah, I'm going to take the job. And then you take the job and you may find out, ooh, this isn't going so good. Like the way they interviewed me is really a reflection of how dysfunctional it is. Ugh. You may have lucked out though. You may have gone through those hoops and maybe it turns out that your department is awesome. But when a company takes a chance on you, it's very validating. And sometimes you do, I mean, I know this happens. This has happened to me so many times where I'm trying to get into an industry. I'm trying to make the connection. I'm trying to get into a network. And I'll put my blinders on because I don't want to see the negative things, because I just want to make that connection. I just want to feel that validation. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of developers can relate to, is just, especially as a junior, can you please validate me? If you get a job offer, that's a big time validation, because that company thinks that you have the skills and they trust you enough to say, we're going to offer you this salary and these benefits for you to work for me, for you to work at this company. That is extremely validating, because that is a signal to you that all that work you put in, all those months, for a lot of people, those years, that year plus, those 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you can just keep going, 6, 7, 8 years. Those months and years that you spent finally have paid off. And to be faced with that decision, like, okay, this company doesn't look so good, but they're also willing to take a chance. Should I do it? It's a big decision. And it is very validating when a company says, as a junior, they won't even say, like, you know what, you're what we're looking for. Here's our offer. Wow. All that time you spent learning these technologies, learning the stack, learning the mean stack, the MERN stack, the PERN stack, whatever you're doing, someone said, we want to pay you for it. We want to pay you for those skills. When can you start? Wow. That's a big freaking deal. Let's go back to these comments. Coder B says, my interview was way too easy. Small manufacturer, IT has 3 people, me as one. My future boss talked 95% of the time telling me about the job. He already knew he wanted me. Interesting comment. Thanks for the comment. Candace says, have a video conference in a bit, heading out. And thanks again, RTC, for another live stream. Thanks, Candace, for joining us. Dr. Candace dropping her interview experience with this machine learning position that she took. Awesome. Thanks, Candace, for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Coder B says to junior developers, just keep trying, keep learning, keep interviewing, just keep going. I have to 100% endorse that statement. 100%. Because if you quit and don't come back, you're blowing a really big opportunity. There's some company out there that is willing to take a chance on you, but you cannot give up and you cannot quit. If you quit and you don't come back, you are 100% guaranteed to not succeed in this industry. Now, some people find out this industry is not for them. And that's good that they realize that. There's no reason to be miserable in this line of work. There really is not. There are a lot of other ways you can make 6 figures. I am so tired of people thinking they have to enter tech to make big money. You can make 6 figures as a plumber. You can make 6 figures as a bartender. Cash. You know what that means? Untaxed. Cash under the table. 6 figures. I know people who have bought their homes cash. Stacks under their mattress or wherever they keep their money, based on the income they got from bartending. They live in a nice suburb in Minnesota. This is not the only field. So that's just my PSA. There's just no point in being miserable in this field. There are so many other things you can do, especially with the trades. But to go back to Coder B's point, you just can't give up. If you do quit, just don't stay quit. That's my motto. Because there are a lot of times where I'm just like, I've had it. This is not worth it. There are some days where I was just like totally burnt out. I'd been studying for 10 hours straight. Like Colt Steele's face was just like etched in my prefrontal cortex, or was it my cerebellum? I don't remember where it was etched, but it was certainly etched. I had been spending a lot of time with that guy. It was getting unhealthy. And like, it's just like, what am I doing? I should just go back to the post office. Oy vey. No way, dude. So I took a few days off and then I came back and did it. There's a company out there that is willing to take a chance on you, but you have to keep pushing. You have to continuously just iterate and do better on your portfolio, on your resume, on what you're doing. Just keep brushing up on those skills and keep getting better. What's up, Main Street Studios? We had some more firsthand experiences with interviews here. Rebecca Erling says, I was fortunate. I went through 3 interviews. The first was just from HR, probably just to weed me out if need be. Then a Skype interview, which was the most stressful one, but not too bad. Yeah, it's like somehow video interviews, like Skype or Hangouts or whatever you're using, Zoom interviews, they're almost more stressful than in person because video interviews are deceiving in that way. Like, oh yeah, just roll out of bed tomorrow, look presentable and talk to this person. But they're actually assessing you and judging you through video. I guess what I'm saying is I'd rather be judged in person than through video. There's just more of me. Uh, Maybe it's my pheromones or something. I just feel better when I'm in person. I would rather someone judge me in person. But she says, then my last interview in person was more like just lunch, show me around and offer me the job. That sounds pretty painless. Let's see. Carlitos says, I have my first interview coming Tuesday. Wish me luck. Congrats, Carlitos. Keep us updated. That is awesome. Good for you. Congrats. Just, you know what? Honestly, I hope that company, I hope you love that company and I hope you get a job offer. But if you don't, just keep going. And the nice thing about doing job interviews is that if you end up not accepting the job, I mean, maybe they'll give you an offer and you say, you know what? No, I found another place. Whatever happens, that interview experience is something that's an instant level up. That's an instant level up. Any interview I ever went to, see, I am very studious and almost officious about keeping journals. So I have multiple tech journals, and I would always write down my experience with any interview I had, whether it was even phone screens, or that aren't like official, full-fledged interviews. Just trying to weed out, trying to make sure you're not a psycho. I'd write those down and I'd get off the phone or get out of the interview and say, "Wow, that was an experience." It's an instant level up whenever you go to one of these things. So I'm excited for you. Hope you do really well, and I hope it goes great. Let's see. Carl Young says, okay, I'm pumped now. Gonna rail off like 8 Pomodoros. Yeah, some people swear by the Pomodoro technique. I have not been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or anything like that, but I just do not have that discipline to focus on one task for 15 minutes because I'm always wondering, okay, either if I'm not stressed out about when it's going to ring, like, okay, time to take a break. If I'm not like having that anticipatory anxiety, I'm wondering if, how my business is doing or whatever. I know it's a discipline thing. It's a mind discipline thing, and I'm just so bad at it. Maybe I just need to keep trying. I need to take some of my own advice and just keep trying until it works. Seth says, this was my 4th week at my first junior dev job. I was so nervous before starting, but I really love it. Seth, that's great news. That's exciting. What is the job position? Are you full stack, back end, front end? Let us know in the comments. Carson Black says, anyone interested in Drupal jobs should show up to DrupalCon 2020 next week. It'll cost some money for a ticket, but it's all online and there are jobs there. Drupal doesn't get a lot of love, but there are some industries that are really reliant on it. Yeah, and Drupal is a content management system. I've never actually used it. I'm more of a WordPress person myself. But yeah, it's just one of those things. This is the thing too. Now we talk about this a lot in the live streams and in pre-recorded videos. A lot of these technologies you'll never hear about them on YouTube. You'll never see them written about in popular blogs. You won't see them on medium.com. You won't even see Udemy courses on them. I'm talking about proprietary languages, government or technologies that the government uses. I think Drupal might be one of them. The government uses a CMS and is very reliant on either, I'm pretty sure it's Drupal. I could be wrong. But these, like niche CMSs, we always talk about WordPress because let's be honest, there's a lot of opportunities there. A third of the internet, a third of the web uses WordPress in some way, shape, or form. But there are also these niche CMSs you will never hear about. Drupal, I mean, you do hear about it here and there, but there are ones that are even more niche that you're like, what the heck? There's Butter. Has anyone ever heard of Butter CMS? There's opportunities there. Has anyone ever dabbled in IBM languages? Most people, probably not. Lots of opportunities there. Lots of opportunities with these old school. Oh, and this is the thing too, developers. This is what I'm talking about with opportunities. These baby boomers are retiring in droves. People who got started in programming in the 70s and 80s, they've racked their they have their money. They're ready for retirement and they are getting out of the industry. A lot of these companies are using old school tech. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're using stuff from the 80s. IBM is just one small example. Thousands of these companies exist, but you just won't hear about them because it's not sexy. What's sexy? JavaScript. There's even a website, javascriptisexy.com. You're not going to see a website called drupelisexy.com, but these are opportunities. That's why I just love that about this industry. Seth says a lot of websites I work on at my job use a niche CMS called Emerald. That's for finance industry specifically. Exactly. Great. Okay, Jordan, exactly. Drupal is super big with the federal government shops. FedGov, Drupal, it's that is exactly. I've read about this so many times. When I see the job listings, it's like sometimes you need a security clearance, sometimes you don't. It depends on the agency, it depends on the contract. But yeah, someone made an Air Force comment here. Dickie's beer reviews. Dickie, I think I know. Am I subscribed to your channel? Wish I learned more when I was in the Air Force. I'm retired now. Interesting. Thanks for your service, Dickie. And Carson Black says, yep, FedGov, California State Gov, higher education. Drupal is just basically PHP development. It's not old school PHP dev either. Sarah says the government loves old tech. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Rebecca says we have our own CMS we developed called Antilles. So couldn't learn it before working there since it's proprietary. I love the CMS though. Joomla. Artie, thank you. Joomla, you had name drop Joomla. That's another CMS. That's one you don't hear about a lot, but it's open source. If you have you could get started with any of these, with Drupal, Joomla, WordPress. This is a great way to get some training and just to explore it. Get one of these Namecheap shared hosting plans for $2 a month. Okay. There is even one called HoboHost. It's $1 a month. And if you, I think with HoboHost too, they have cPanel. And with cPanel, there's this suite of applications called Softaculous. I know I'm like dropping all these weird terms, but just bear with me. If you have a hosting plan with Softaculous, they have these scripts. It's a one-click script install. That includes Joomla. I don't know if it includes Drupal, but Joomla and WordPress. And if you're interested, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give. Just spend a few bucks and start getting dirty with these CMSs. There's a lot to see, there's a lot to use, and it's a specific type of development too, because with CMSs, a lot of times they are going to be client facing. And what I mean by that is the client is going to be able to have, I keep hitting this door, the client is going to have access to these CMSs. And one thing that's nice about CMSs is that as a developer, you can go beneath, you can go underground, tunnel into this code base while your client is also able to access it. Now, that's not the case with a lot of applications. A lot of these applications, most of them, they're not client facing. So your control panel, all the things that you're doing are just for developers. But that's not the case with something like WordPress or Joomla, where again, these are called CMSs, content management system. So if you have a blog, let's say you're in education or something, and you're developing a Drupal blog, well, you're going to have access to the code and you're going to be working with the code. But then your writers, the people who are creating content, are people like the teachers, the administrators, and they don't have those tech skills. So they just, fill in their credentials and they have access to that control panel and they can post blogs, they can add photos, they can do this multimedia stuff without knowing how to code. So CMSs are really cool that way. There are some CMSs that are very, very developer centric. A lot of these static site generators are very developer centric, and I would never give one to a client or try and show them because they are just a little too technical for the average user. But yeah, CMSs are awesome. And again, that's just another vector for entering this industry. Tom PW, what's going on? Beyonce Mansour says, I'm self-taught, full stack developer. I do it in my free time because I still study at university. And recently I started looking for jobs as an intern, but no luck right now. Yeah, that is one thing. Internships have totally tanked since the Rona, unfortunately, across all industries. It's disappointing to see, but hopefully it'll pick back up. Developers, it has been a great live stream. It's 5:30. We've been on for about an hour plus. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank all these people: Ben J1, Rikers Island, Paradoodly, Rikers again, Dr. Candace for the super chat. If you want to continue the conversation, please come join our Discord. It's a great group of people. We can talk more. This is a topic I really enjoy talking about because the interview is so critical in making that connection, in bridging you as a candidate, bridging you to the job. It's the battlefield. The interview is the battlefield. When you're sitting down, when you're on the phone, it's the battlefield for getting that job. It's so important. So yeah, Paradoodly, please pop that link. Keep an eye out for realtoughcandy.io. We're going to be talking a lot more about it and how it's going to help you. I mean, really, there's people kept saying, Candy, you should start your own platform. I said, the world doesn't need another JavaScript course. The world doesn't need another freaking PHP course. Well, yes, it does, but you guys know what I'm saying? It doesn't, we don't need another React course. None of this nonsense. So the courses we are working on are completely dedicated to helping you level up, land a job, and get a raise. We have a course called Portfolio Surgery. A freelance newbie is going to be on there. How to get a job in web development, UX UI for developers, and professional communication for junior developers. We're working on that course this weekend. Totally hyped for it. So thank you so much for your support. I will see you in the Discord. If not, I will see you soon working on some videos for the channel. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Paradoodly, for your mod skills. And I will see you in the next video. Now we're going to be awkward again and wait for this stream to catch up. So, yeah, mic check 1, 2. All right, this is awkward.